Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is my review for The Bridge, Season 2, Episode 6, Harvest of Souls, and this episode was amazing. I loved everything about this episode, thought this episode was very well done. I mean, just a really interesting episode, definitely, especially the ending. I'm really looking forward to seeing where that's gonna go, definitely. I loved what happened in this episode. I loved everything about this episode. And one of the things I really liked about this episode was there was no Eleanor in any of this episode. And it was still the most intense episode of the season. It was. But there was no Eleanor. And I thought that was actually really well done the way they did that, definitely. So, yeah, let's just get to this episode. Because overall, I loved it. That was great. And, yeah, let's get to it. So if you remember last week, we saw those drawings of Sonya's, Dobbs. Dobbs had drawn those drawings, basically, and, basically it was of Sonya's sister and everything, and Jack has traced his brother's, artistic renderings to a water tower in the middle of the desert, because he wants to try to, go down there, see possibly where he can find the drawings, things like that, and he begins digging, and he finds a hand belonging to a body, and it looks like Sonya's sister, but the thing is, but it turns out that, it's not Sonya's sister's hand, which means that his brother killed more than Sonya's sister, which is really big. So definitely, I thought that was big. That was a great way to start off the episode. And, basically, Sonya and Marco, they're talking over a little bit, and basically Jack then comes home to Sonya and lies saying he was on a hike, not digging up one of his brother's victims, and I'm wondering if he's gonna eventually tell her what's going on, because again, he is hiding something huge from her. He is obviously hiding something from her. Him and Hank are hiding something, and we still don't know what it is, and I'm thinking whatever he's hiding is connected to that. So, they briefly discuss Dobbs' remains and eventually decide to dump them in the trash, and Sonya seemingly takes the relationship a step further by offering Jack a key to her place. Basically because, she wants to be in a relationship with him, she trusts him, and he announces that he plans to stay in the area to look for a job and everything, and Sonya declares that she's actually not his girlfriend. So, basically, I can see that, I mean, she's not really his girlfriend, he's just there to basically have sex with her, and all the time they're there, all they really do is have sex, and just talk about his brother, so she's really not his girlfriend, so he just suggests keeping it casual, so basically they're just gonna have casual sex, I guess, and not really, put any labels on it. I like that they're not putting any labels on anything, but at the same time, I really don't know how to feel about that scene. I thought that was interesting, I guess. So Hank and Sonya, they're trying to get a clue that leads them to visit the house that Galvin put in Charlotte's name. So on the way, Hank feels like it's a good time for them to talk about, Jack. He does not know why Sonya hangs out with Jack and gives her a tough time about it. But I agree with what Sonya said. It's really none of Hank's business who Sonya hangs out with. Sonya can hang out with who she wants to hang out with. It's not his business. I get that Hank wants to be a father figure to her. I get that. I like that. But the thing is, it's really Sonya's choice on who she wants to be with. It's her choice. If she wants to be with Jack, then she's with Jack. It's that simple. That's all there is to it. If she wants to be with Jack, she's with Jack. That's really, I didn't feel like Hank needed to, question her about that, definitely. That really does show, though, that definitely Hank is hiding something. And I can't tell why, I can't tell why Sonya, really can't tell, definitely. So, they end up cleaning the house after Eleanor's bloody massacre, and we see Hank and Sonya search through it. And Charlotte's ranch hand, Caesar, is keeping an eye on the house and calls one of Galvin's people to say that the detectives are there, obviously. Because, they want to, tell them the detectives are there. And basically, earlier we had seen Marco and Sonya warn the prosecutor about the danger surrounding, Abelardo Pentado, and the prosecutor they've been, that's the prosecutor they've been working with, and basically we go to in Juarez, and basically, we see the police, we see the Mexican police, the prosecutor assures them that he hired private security to protect himself, especially now that he's in possession of Eva's, disposition. However, when walking down the street, Abelardo security ditches him, the police capture him, put him in a van, they kill him, but try to make it look like an accident. And that scene was just really huge. I was surprised by how far the Mexican police went. I mean, that was huge right there. They killed the prosecutor, and they made it look like it was an accident. So, I don't really know how they're going to be able to cover that up. It's going to be interesting to see how they decide to cover that up because, again, they're Mexican police and they kill the prosecutor. So obviously something bad's going to happen to them, definitely. I don't really know what's going to happen, though. So, basically, then what ends up happening is, basically we see Eva, and we'll talk about Eva in a second. We'll get to basically what happened with Eva. But basically, what ends up happening is that Eva, actually, we will talk about Eva. She actually found the Mexican police officer that Linder and Bob were torturing in the abandoned shed, because of course they were torturing them. And basically, Eva refuses any more help from the detectives. She doesn't want help from them. Because Sonya and Marco were heading out to tell her the news, but, the prosecutor died. And she says, I don't want any help from you. I'm doing this myself. That's all I'm doing. I'm doing this myself. And the thing is, they really want to help her, and she doesn't really want to get the help. And I don't really know why she doesn't want to get the help, but she just doesn't want the help from them. She wants to do this on her own. So, alright, whatever your preference is, I guess. But she just wants to do this on her own, I guess. So, she decides to revisit the prisoner with an axe in hand. The man taunts her, calling her vile names, and she tells him that she's a good person as she kills him. So she killed him and everything, and honestly, she definitely does, that was the prisoner that we saw, if you guys remember. Eleanor went to that prisoner who, had, his hand out. That was the prisoner. I'm guessing that was probably the prisoner that, knows Eleanor. I'm thinking that's what was going on there. The acorn. I'm thinking that is the prisoner. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that was the prisoner. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. I'm pretty sure it was, though. We'll have to see what happens there, though. That's definitely going to be interesting. So then we see Galvin and Sarah Solo meet for pool, and it's a very, very important scene. Basically, Sarah Solo tells him how inconvenient the prosecutor's murder is for business. And of course, they murdered the prosecutor, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens there. And basically, he tells Galvin he needs one simple thing for him to do, and this is very simple. He just needs to do it for him. He wants Galvin to be more discreet, basically keep Captain Robles in line, and maybe just sit down to read the book Sarah Solo just gave him. That's what he needs him to do. He needs to sit down and basically give him the book, that Sarah Solo just gave him. So, I thought that was definitely, very interesting, the way that was, working out. I'm very interested in seeing, if, Galvin follows his orders. I'm thinking he will, but I don't know if he's gonna follow his orders, because Galvin, I don't know what he's gonna do. So, the question is Galvin gonna follow his orders? I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens there. So, Marco laments to Sonya about how the prosecutor is one of the good ones, and that they've lost Eva's disposition, but Sonya asks Marco if he knew where the prosecutor was staying, thinking he might have left the disposition in his hotel room. So what they decide to do is they decide to go to the hotel room, but of course, since they're in Mexico, Sonya can't fire a gun because she's in Mexico and it's out of her jurisdiction. But Marco does want to have some sort of protections, and they realize that the prosecutor never checked out of the room, begin going through his things. Of course, basically they want to go through his things. And just as Sonya finds the disposition, the police barge in, shoot at Marco and Sonya, and she ends up shooting one of them. Marco shoves Sonya out of the room, but of course, she can't carry a gun because it's out of her jurisdiction and she can't do that. So, obviously she's in a lot of trouble now because she just shot a police officer. Not only did she shoot a Mexican police officer, anyway, the Mexican police officer did do something illegal. But not only did she do that, she shot someone, it's out of her jurisdiction, and so she's not allowed to do that. So, of course, Marco is very concerned about her. So Marco shoves Sonya out of the room and basically tells her, so he can finish off the bad cops. And as this is happening, we see Eva. We basically see Eva and Linder. Linder finds Eva, understands what she's done and, why she's doing what she's doing and why she did it. And they get onto Linder's motorcycle and ride away. So, I'm interested in seeing where they're going to go from here, as far as on the motorcycle. I don't know what's going to happen there, but definitely, again, Eva really wants to handle this on her own. So I'm thinking Eva and Linder, they're going to try to handle this on their own, and I don't know where they're going to go next, but we'll have to see what happens there, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there with Eva and Linder. So, of course, Sonya's really worried now because, she thinks this is a very bad situation. She doesn't know what they're going to do. And, Sonya and Marco, they're back in the car, and Marco keeps telling her, I'll take care of it. I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna be the one to take care of it. And, basically, what Marco wants to do is Marco is going to try to use the disposition as leverage to get Sonya out of this mess. But he does tell Sonya one thing that she needs to know. She can't tell anyone that she was here. He says, I will handle this. I'm going to take care of it. It's my fault, it's my problem. And he tells her one thing. You were never here. That's what he says to her. He says, okay, if this is my problem, but there's one condition, you were never here. You have to pretend you were never here, and that's just what they're going to do. They're going to pretend that Sonya was never there. So I thought the main plot was very interesting, very intense stuff there. Really loved Sonya and Marco's plot. Just really, really intense stuff there. I like the Eva and Linder stuff as well. Thought that was well done as well. And, now let's get to Daniel and Adrianna. Daniel and Adrianna really like their plot as well. Basically, they get a lead from a priest. They meet at the church, and he wants to speak with them about the assassin who killed Raoul. Basically, of course, that assassin started seeing Jesus, and we don't know what was going on there. The last time we saw him, he was, claiming he saw Jesus, and basically, Daniel and Adrianna, they have bags over their heads, and they question the man as he makes his confession. He explains that Chiquito's role was a courier in the money laundering investigation, and basically the assassin was the one who killed Chiquito, and basically that's very interesting, definitely very interesting as to what's going on there. This is another piece that falls into their hands, so that's very interesting there, definitely. So basically, they finally arrive at Grupo Clio, where CEO Sebastian Sarasolo refuses to talk, and when the journalists give up and leave, Sarasolo asks his man to retrieve info on Daniel and especially Adrianna. So the question is, what's he gonna do? So basically, he's finished with writing the story, and Adrianna hesitates before publishing, not just because they might be missing something from the puzzle, but because of the dangerous outcomes that result from making their discoveries public. Now, Daniel, on the other hand, he's not really worried about this. He's like, oh, it's gonna be fine, there's nothing to worry about. Probably because he really doesn't have anything to lose, and he convinces Adrianna to send the article to her editor, because, she's not really sure everything in that article, though, is accurate. She's not sure that's what's, if everything in the article is accurate or not. But it all ends up being pointless, because their editor later tells them that he can't publish it, and their sources and accusations didn't pass legal, they don't have legal sources there, they didn't sort, the sources aren't legal, they don't, so did they, they don't have legal sources, and the newspaper doesn't want a, lawsuit on their hands, obviously, they don't want them to publish something that's illegal, so Daniel is pissed off, yelling at his boss and everything, he's pissed off, and his boss asks him, are you on drugs, he asks him if he's on drugs and everything, and basically, what is happening is, because Daniel couldn't print any names to go with the story, he got angry, and things that led to him, he actually ended up getting fired, for instance. But it's too late to go back, because he was counting on the story to keep him and his partner safe from retaliation, and that plan failed, so now they have to worry about if they're going to survive with a story that almost nearly got published. So that's definitely is very interesting. Definitely, I think that's going to be very interesting, the way that all works out. I'm looking forward to seeing definitely what's going to happen there. But, he ends up, he is not fired from his job, so we'll have to see what happens if they don't, if the story was not published, the article was not published, and they now have to worry about how they're going to survive with this story, because they have to somehow change this story and cite their sources, have their sources correct, so that way their sources are accurate, that way no one can say anything about it, and that's going to be interesting to see what they do there. But overall, I love this episode, thought this was the best episode of the season, really, really great episode. I mean, every episode, it seems, this season has been the best episode of the season. So, let's talk a little about this episode. Basically, is Marco going to be able to get Sonya out of this? Is he going to be able to do this? I really hope he does. I don't know if he's going to. We'll have to see what he tries to do, but I don't know if Marco's going to be able to get Sonya out of this, He's telling her, look, this is my problem, I'm going to be the one to do this, and is he going to, basically, is he going to use the disposition as leverage to get her out of this mess? We'll have to see what happens there, definitely. As far as Daniel and Adrianna go, as I said, I don't know what's going to happen with them. They're going to have to try to fix their article a little bit, so that way their sources are correct. We'll have to see what happens there, definitely. And And, Daniel's fired now. Daniel is fired, and basically Adrianna's now all on her own, which is definitely very interesting. Because, Daniel's fired, and now Adrianna's all on her own. So Adrianna's going to have to try to fix this article all by herself. We'll have to see what happens there with Daniel. Definitely, it's very interesting because, of course, Daniel claimed he wasn't on drugs, and then we found out he is. So I think that's definitely very interesting what happened there. And then as far as Eva and Linder go, I don't know where they're headed. I really don't know. Where do you guys think they're headed? I personally don't know where they're headed. And they got on her motorcycle. I really don't know where they're headed, really. Basically, she wanted to finish his Pintado's investigation. That's why she did it in the first place. She wanted to finish his investigation. And that's why they killed 2 Juarez officers, basically. That's really what was going on there. And, I guess she's just gonna have to run away because, she's killing people that come after her, and it's merely, that it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there, definitely. Again, I don't really know where they're headed, though. So where do you guys think Eva and Linder are headed? Because I really don't know where they're headed. But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which I'm going to tell you guys something. Remember how I said I wasn't going to review Big Brother for you guys? Well, I am going to review it for you guys, but what I'm going to do is instead of reviewing each individual episode, I'm going to be reviewing it weekly. I'll explain it to you when I do my review, but when I do my review, you guys will see it, and yeah, so that's going to be my next review, and I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.